everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I want to start the reading vlog for April, which is very exciting because April is Magical Readathon time and I have a stacked TBR. You can go and watch my TBR video if you want to hear all about my very exciting but very scary reading plans. But I am here to talk you through the month. We'll see how it goes. So I will first let you know what I'm currently reading and how that fits into Magical Readathon. Now, I did read yesterday a lot of the Grimm's Fairytales because I still have not finished reading this collection that I started in November. Now, this is a 3-volume thing, so it does take a bit of time and I give myself grace for that. But now I am so close to the end. I am in the notes section, so even though there is 300 pages left, a lot of this can also kind of be skipped over because it just lists of like sources and stuff. So I do feel like I should just, take my momentum right now and go and finish this. But this would not count for the readathon, or at least for my calling. So that is what holds me back right now. And I think I will just try and see where things go. I will be open to whatever happens. But yeah, this was the last thing I read basically before the readathon started. Now for my audiobook, I did already start a book for my readathon TBR with a scroll of continuity, I think. And that would be Dragon Keeper by Robin Hobb. I do plan on reading the whole quartet this year, so it was about time I start reading it. Now these books are a little bit long and I do have 3 fantasy books on my audiobook TBR for the month, so I felt I couldn't realistically get through all of that if I didn't start a little bit early. So I'm currently 50% into Dragon Keeper and I plan on continuing on with that one. In this one, we mainly follow 2 main characters, Thymera and Alice. And Thymera is a person from the Rain Wilds and she is marked. What that means, I can't really tell you. You have to read the whole series. This is the 4th series within the realm of the Elderlings. So I am in deep and I can't really give you explanations. But yeah, Thymera is a person that is not very accepted in her society because she's marked so much, and so she's looking for a way to live her own life with the very few options that she has. And when there is talk about people looking for dragon keepers who will help some dragons get to where they want to go, Thymera signs up for that. And then we have Alice. Alice is not from this area, from the Rain Wilds. She is from Bingtown. However, she's very obsessed with dragons and also with the Elderlings. And so she wants to go to the Rain Wilds and she wants to see the dragons and investigate them a little bit. And she will probably get wrapped into that whole plan of bringing the dragons somewhere else as well. Now, Alice is in a very unhappy marriage and there is a lot of unhappiness going on all around. There is topics of queerness in this book, but it's not very happy and nice. And then we also have a lot of ableism in the first half of this book. So I'm intrigued to see where that goes. I trust Robin Hobb that she will do something with this, but also this was written in the noughties. So we'll see. We'll see. I have some hope, but also up until this halfway point, the reading has been a little bit challenging for sure. And then for my first eyeball TBR read that I want to start today, I think I want to start with Mate by Ali Hazelwood. And this is the second book to Bride. It follows a different couple. This is a kind of a romantic series, but it has fantasy elements. In this world, we do have vampires and we do have werewolves and then humans, and this is about kind of like them trying to live peacefully together, and it's not always going so well. So I'm intrigued to see where Mate will lead us with that. So that's all I have for you right now, and we'll talk again when some reading has happened. So today is the 3rd of April and I'm about to leave for my little Easter trip to go see my family. Before I do that, I wanted to give you a very quick reading update. I do hope to do some reading. I do have a couple of hours on the train, so there should be opportunity for it. And I'm currently not quite 20% into my first official book for Magical Readathon, which is Mate. Now this is the second book to Bride. It's a companion novel where we follow new characters. I think our female main character is called Serena and the male main character is Cohen. The werewolf males all have very weird names that I don't know how to pronounce, so if I say it incorrectly, I'm very sorry about that. So basically, Serena is a hybrid. She is half werewolf and half human, and because of that, she's very dangerous to this world because the humans, the werewolves, and the vampires are all kind of at war. They're trying to make some peace deals, but things are not going super great, and there are political powers that are not very interested in a peaceful negotiation between the three kinds. So knowing that in theory, werewolves and humans can produce offspring is a little bit of a challenge to the political views of some people in this world, especially the vampires, because they now feel kind of like left out and they're scared that this will have dangerous consequences for their kind. So people are after Serena. She came out publicly. She did an interview where she talked about her condition, if you want to call it that, and she tries to pretend that she is the only one of her kind, but there is a second one, and that is Anna. That is, I think, the small sister of the main character in the first book, Lo. So we already met Anna. We already love Anna. She's really, really cute, really adorable. But yeah, she's also in danger because she is also a hybrid and she's a small child. I think she's 7 years old. So our main character, Serena, is trying to protect her by claiming she is the only one. Because of that, she has a huge target on her back, but she is also the mate of an alpha, which is Cohen, and so he is protecting her. However, he's not interested in a romance with her. He says that basically the whole mate thing is just a physical thing, and it doesn't mean that he likes her or loves her. So we will explore the journey these two characters will go on, where this will turn into romance, obviously. But I do enjoy the world. I think it is a fun concept to have like these three types of people, like the humans, the vampires, and the werewolves, and to see kind of like the political machinations, kind of like what people get up to in that setup. So that's why I'm reading the books. I'm not a big romance reader, so it is definitely an interesting journey for me. I'm not taking this book very seriously, especially the characters feel a little bit silly to me right now, but I hope this will be a fun adventure and I'm intrigued to see more of this world and hopefully grow to like the characters a little bit more. So we'll see. But yeah, I chose this one first because it's an ebook, so it's easy to take on the train. And my ideal would be that I finish this within the Easter period. So I will be back on Sunday night. So I still have Monday to kind of recuperate and hopefully read a little bit more. Then I also made it to the 2/3 mark in my audiobook Dragon Keeper. I don't remember if I told you what this one is about, but I hope I did. Because I don't want to get into it now. But yeah, I'm now 2/3 of the way into that one. I was listening to quite a bit yesterday when I was running some errands, and then also today just getting ready, packing my stuff up and all of that. So I will continue on with this one. I do still have quite a few hours left, so I am enjoying it. It's definitely getting a little bit juicy with the characters as well, and I'm just intrigued to see where that will go. So I probably won't vlog a ton this weekend, but I hope it will be nice. I hope it will be kind of calm. I have been going through some stuff mentally, physically, so yeah, all those hours on the train are nothing I look forward to particularly, but let's hope I will survive and then we'll talk again. So today is the 7th of April and I'm here with a little readathon and reading update. As you can see, I survived my Easter weekend and it was actually quite lovely, apart from the train trip, which was absolutely horrible. And I should have anticipated that, Easter holiday, a lot of people wanted to travel. I went to my train 10 minutes early and I barely even got in. So that was an experience. And I also almost didn't make it out at my stop because too many people were clogging the doors. So that was definitely an experience. And it caused, me not reading at all during that whole train journey. However, I still managed to finish reading Maid yesterday. So with that, I have finished my first class of the 8 that I need to become a necromancer, and that is animal studies. Now, I gotta be completely honest with you, Maid unfortunately was not a book for me. I didn't really have a very great time reading it. I decided to try it because I did enjoy reading Bride, the first book in that little companion duology. And Bride actually surprised me. I also had read it for the Magical Readathon and I had a really good time. I thought the plot was really fun. The characters were kind of intriguing and it was just a goofy time. So I thought, I will just go and try Maid as well, as it fit the prompt and I didn't really have a good alternative for it. But everything that I liked in Bride basically was non-existent in Maid, and everything that I found a little bit odd, let's just say that, it was like tenfold in Maid. So the first thing is, because we are following this hybrid werewolf human person, Serena, and not the main character from the first book, she's very different and she is almost like kind of like a trauma dumping character, but people deal with trauma in like very different ways, and hers was just a little bit annoying to me, to be honest. She was always kind of like making fun of it and making light of it, and yeah, just like, the kind of like snarky, not really emotionally available female main character of some these like fantasy romance books. I just didn't really love that. And then the love interest as well. He's like this big bad, I'm not kind of guy, but like obviously he's obsessed with her because of the whole mate situation. And so, yeah, I also felt a little bit weird about the fact how her past relationships were portrayed, because she repeats again and again that before her mate, she would usually go out with like very kind and lovely guys, like the IT guys basically. But I guess those weren't fun enough for the werewolf stereotypes. I don't know. And so it always feels like she's talking these kinds of men down when really, we need more of them, like especially if they're sincere. I don't need like the alpha wolf, I'm sorry. And then they do have this whole like wolfy smut stuff that is going on, and we do already have some of the like wolfy smut stuff in the first book, and that was stuff that I was aware of, even though I had never read a book that would be considered Omegaverse. But this one does add like different wolfy smut stuff, and it just felt off to me because it really made the whole romance like hinge on the fact that the biology says we have to have sex right now. And so it was a bit weird, and the author tried to make it better, but I don't think it was successful. It was strange. It was a strange choice to portray the romance in that way. And then for the plot, we do have two kind of plot points. One just like disappears. Like the one I talked about in my previous update with the vampires completely just falls off the table, never seen again. The other one concerns kind of the history of this pack. And there is so much there that, you should explore. And it's not done at all. Not at all. Like none of the stuff that is brought up in that history is utilized at all for anything, apart from like creating kind of a villain person that our main characters have to work against. So it was the plot was a dumpster fire. The characters were weird. The smutty stuff was okay. I guess that's not what I go into books for, so I don't really have an opinion about that. But it was like very wolfy, very biology, hormones stuff. So if you enjoy that, I don't know that, yeah, I was just missing a little bit of like, I don't know, like the yearning buildup. It was weird. It was weird. I didn't like it. I gave it 3 stars because I don't think it's a bad book. Like there's, the writing is okay. I guess it's like a very quick read, easy to get through. It was just a very big disappointment after Pride for me. I'm almost done with my audiobook as well, Dragon Keeper. I will probably talk about that once I have finished it more, but I have less than 3 hours left. So maybe depending on what I'm doing today, like which errands I will run, I might be able to finish it today or like early tomorrow. So I hope I will have an update for you on that very soon. And then I also wanted to mention the next book I want to start now from my TBR, and that will be Monday Mourning by Katie Reichs. This is the 7th book in the Temperance Brennan series, so I am quite a bit into this series already, but currently we have 24 books, so I also still have a way to go with it. So I'm very excited to start reading this. I love these for Magical Readathon because honestly, the font is so big and it's also like a thriller story. So, you want to keep reading it. So I think this will be a very quick read and I hope that I will make some progress with this one. For the weekend, I do have some other plans, but we will talk about that once we get there. So for now, I will continue reading Dragon Keeper, the last couple of hours of the audiobook, and I will also start reading Monday Mourning. Now, I wanted to throw a quick little fun story in here at the end before I let you go, just because I just liked it and it was kind of funny. I don't know if it's interesting, but basically when I went to my mom's house, I had the whole like train debacle. I really wasn't feeling well. And my mom was like, oh, I do have a job for you once we get to the house. And I was like, okay, like what's going on? And she's like, we have this random cat in the attic and we don't know how it got there and it won't get out again. So basically, a cat had snuck into their house. It's like a multi-unit house that my family owns. And so, yeah, a cat was in there, in the attic, in the like dustiest corner it could find. And it was obviously very terrified and yeah, just didn't really know how to get out. I think it probably snuck in the evening and then wanted to get out during the night when the door was closed. So then it freaked out because now the exit was gone. So basically what I did is that I went up there. I basically spent about 15 minutes with the cat, just, showing it that I wasn't a threat, talking to it quietly. At some point, I lay down in that dusty corner with the cat until it felt like emboldened enough to make its way back down to the door. And finally, when it saw that the door was open again, it was like a lightning. It was like so fast, it ran outside, and I followed it. And so when it was like down the driveway, it turned back to me and gave me this like one last little look, and then it disappeared in the gardens of the neighborhood. And it was really, really sweet. It was definitely, like a stray cat, but it seemed to be living like a very good life because like where my mom lives is like really rural, a lot of woods and stuff. So a lot of gardens and a lot of woods. It probably has quite the nice territory where it lives. But yeah, it was definitely not prepared to be stuck in a house overnight. And yeah, I'm very glad that we got to establish some trust, so it decided to go outside, and I didn't even have to touch it or anything. I tried to lure it a little bit with like treats, but it didn't even have any interest in the treats. It really was just very scared. So yeah, that was a fun little experience for my weekend. And apart from that, I think I showed you some clips. I spent some time with my best friend, which was lovely, and then also with my grandparents. So yeah, it was a good time. And now we're back home and we're gonna be reading. So today is the 8th of April and I have finished my audiobook as promised. So I just finished reading A Dragon Keeper by Robin Hobb, the first book in the Rainwild Chronicles. This was definitely an interesting read. It is very much a Robin Hobb book, so it is quite slow. We take our time building up the characters and really getting to know everyone. We do have a couple of male characters that definitely seem a bit yucky and icky, and I didn't love to have our characters be around. So it's going to be interesting to see how that will continue. I feel like this series is also taking up some themes that we haven't seen in the Realm of the Elderlings so far, so it is quite interesting to see how that will also be dealt with and develop in the following books. However, this first book is very much just set up. There is basically nothing happening apart from, our characters getting put onto their journey, but we don't really see any resolution. There isn't like a big explosive thing at the end. It's just like, it very much feels like a book that was cut in half. I had a very similar experience when I read Game of Thrones for the first time, and that in the German editions is also cut in half, and I didn't know that. So I was super confused when I finished the book, and then basically nothing had happened. There wasn't like an ending. It just stopped, and this feels very much the same. So it is something to keep in mind if you want to pick up the Rainwild Chronicles, that this first book very much is only the setup for these characters, and it will not give you any conclusions or anything. You really have to continue reading. So that is what I'm going to do. However, for the Magical Readathon, I will have to listen to them other books first, so I'm taking a little bit of a break, but hopefully maybe later in the month or in May I will continue on with the Rainwild Chronicles. For now, I gave this first book 4 stars. It's just Robin Hobb. I don't think that she's physically able of writing a book that I will rate lower than 4 stars, because while there is not really anything happening in this one, I still very much enjoyed it. And while these books are quite long and the audiobooks are quite long, as soon as I finish one, I immediately feel sad that I have finished another Robin Hobb book. So yeah, it's definitely Robin Hobb has a grip on my heart, and she knows it. And yeah, I'm just obsessed. So I had a good time with that book. Now for my next audiobook, I will be picking up a stage set for villains. Now this is a new release from this year, and I am a bit scared of it. Now the thing is that with the whole cover and the whole description with the theater, and it's kind of like fantasy, but there's like more going on, it all reminds me a little bit of The Spear Cuts Through Water, which was my favorite book that I read last year. So I have high expectations, but at the same time, I know that if I go in with those expectations, I will just be disappointed. And I also know that some of my bookish friends have really loved this already. So I really hope I will enjoy it. It is a YA book, and I don't read a ton of YA fantasy, so we'll see how it goes. I'll try to keep an open mind, and I'll tell you more about the plot and everything once I have gotten a little bit into the book. So for now, we have finished the second prompt, the second class for my Necromancer Calling, and that will be shapeshifting. And with that, I'm going to continue reading, and I'll talk to you soon. So today is the 11th of April, and with that, I want to give you a very quick update, because for this weekend I am going to do something different, but for now let's talk about the books I've read throughout the week. So I'm currently about 170 pages into Monday Mourning by Katie Reichs, so this is a little bit more than a third, not quite halfway through the book. In this one we follow Temperance Brennan again. This is the 7th book in the series, so yeah, You can technically read those as standalones, but I like to read them in order to get the whole like backstory relationships as well. In this one, we are in Montreal. These novels take place in different places because Temperance Brennan is working in Montreal, but also in South Carolina. And then sometimes some books are like special trips that she's taking. But this one is very much Montreal, and it's also set around the Christmas time. So it is a bit odd to read it now, which is basically like Easter time. But in this one, we do have a case where 3 skeletons are found in a basement, and Temperance is convinced that these are more recent deaths, but she can't really prove it yet. And the detective she's working with, Claudel, is one of the people she doesn't really like. She works with multiple detectives from like different departments in Montreal, but Claudel is like the worst one, and he never really believes her, and he doesn't really believe in her methods. And so he's not really interested. He's like, yeah, these are probably like ancient skeletons, and it doesn't really concern me. So Temperance is trying to convince him that this is a real case and that they should investigate more. At the same time, her best friend Anne is visiting, and they have a weird intruder that destroys a lot around the house of Temperance. So we are also kind of like looking at that. Does that have to do anything with Anne, or is it because of the case, or is something completely different going on as well? Looking at the Temperance Brennan novels, this one does have a little bit of a higher rating than the other ones, so I am very intrigued to see where the case goes with this one. These are very quick reads for me. I really enjoy them. There are some things in this one in particular that irk me a little bit. Like, there are just some phrases that I don't understand. There was one phrase about the Holocaust that made no sense to me. It was very, very weird. And yeah, just in general, there were a couple of like just things where I was like, But this was written in the 2000s. So yeah, sometimes I try to forgive that a little bit. Like, this book is like almost 20 years old. So keep that in mind. Sometimes stuff is a bit odd, like just in the phrasing. It's not particularly like, I don't know, like that one sentence with the Holocaust like really threw me off. That was so weird. And then I'm also about 18% into my audiobook, A Stage Set for Villains. In this one, we follow a main character who, when she's 8 years old and she's at the ceremony where she is supposed to get marked, she gets attacked by a player. Now, in this world, there had been gods, but the gods have gone. They're dead. And when they disappeared, the players appeared, and players have a magical ability called the craft, and they are pretty much like gods in themselves. They are pretty much immortal, but they are also dependent on people adoring them. So there is like a very complicated balance between the players and the humans. Now, some of the humans get marked, and that means that they are safe against the craft of the players. However, it also means that they can never lie. So when our main character is at the ceremony where she's supposed to get marked, she gets attacked, and she gets basically cursed by the player that attacks her. And that means that now, 10 years later, she pretty much has like a terminal illness. She is just like, her body is deteriorating every day. And she, through like some things that happen, ends up in the playhouse, and she gets selected at an audition that she doesn't really take part in, but like, because things happen, I don't want to spoil anything, but like things happen, and she ends up in this competition where basically if she succeeds, she can become a player himself and maybe save her life. But also the player who chose her to audition for him basically, or to compete for him, he has his own plans. And so I'm intrigued to see where that will go. I do have a bit of a suspicion what's going on with her curse. We'll see. But so far, I am having a good time with this book. It does give me some Hunger Games vibes. Obviously, the whole setup is very, very different, and the whole world and the magic, very different. But just the urgency, kind of a little bit of the character of the main character, like just her traits and how she behaves, and the pace of the book as well. It's really fun so far. Definitely gruesome. This is marketed as YA, but I would say this is probably more like a new adult, but without smut, so keep that in mind. So now for this weekend, I'm going to take a little bit of a break because it is Read a Short weekend. That is a little readathon hosted by my friend Cleo on the channel Bemused Bookworm. And so for this weekend, I'm going to be reading some short books. I will let you know how that went on Monday, but I am very excited to get into some of these reads. I do also really want to continue with Monday morning, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'll catch up with you soon. So today is the 13th of April, and I did quite a bit of reading over the weekend that had its own little reading vlog. So I just want to quickly mention the books here, and you can go and check the vlog out if you're interested. I managed to read 3 books throughout this weekend for the Read It Short Readathon hosted by my friend Cleo on the channel Bemused Bookworm. It was a lot of fun as always. Cleo is very good at hosting sprints and just making the whole experience feel really, really cool. So over this whole weekend, I read 599 pages, which was a little bit disappointing that I did not read that final page, but I only did the math afterwards. So yeah, it is what it is. The first book I finished is actually on my Magical Readathon as well, and that was Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahattin Ali. This is a Turkish classic, or kind of like a modern classic, written in the 40s, and it follows the story of this man who is of kind of Turkish descent. He was born in the Ottoman Empire as it started to fall apart, and it follows this character in the 1920s as he goes to Berlin, and there he meets a woman, and it's kind of a love story. It's kind of more. I had a good time with this one. I would say my reading enjoyment for the story itself was like a 3.5 stars, but because I really liked the introduction and the perspective it opened up on the whole story, I gave it 4 stars in the end. And I read this one for Conjuration. These are 2 books I counted for some extra credit for the Magical Readathon, but they're not really working towards my calling. So I did a reread of Cheese Sweet Home Volume 3, a little manga series following a cat who gets lost and then adopted by a Japanese family. In this 3rd volume, it really comes to the problem that this family is not actually allowed to have a pet. So now they have to decide whether to keep Chi or whether to find a new apartment where they can actually have a cat. So this one is actually quite a little bit sad in the end as well, and I gave this one 4 stars as well. It's definitely one of the stronger ones in this whole series. And then I read a German book I got as a gift for my birthday from one of my friends, and that is Nicht, falsch, neurodivergent by Charlotte Suhr. This is a non-fiction memoir book written from a woman who found out in her late 20s that she has ADHD, and then in her 30s also got diagnosed with autism. And so she writes about her experiences growing up with neurodivergency without knowing it. So this was a very interesting book. Definitely some aspects that I related to in a way. A lot of it I also did not particularly relate to, and that's totally fine. Yeah, this was an interesting read. I'm glad that I have read it, and I gave this one 4 stars as well. And with that, we return to my 2 main reads, which would be Monday Mourning. Still have over halfway to go with this one, and then my audiobook, A Stage Stat for Villains. With this one, I think I'm now a little bit more than a third of the way through. I am still enjoying it. The main character is starting to get on my nerves a little bit because she is very angry, like rage, rage, rage. And while I can appreciate that, especially in a female main character, I really hope that she will start to use her brain a little bit as well, so we can move along in the story. And I think there are some connections that my brain is already making, but the main character is not. So I feel a little bit like iffy about her actions right now. But we will see where that goes. I'm still enjoying it. It is very fast paced and very intriguing with the like whole theater concept of the magic. So I will continue reading that and then I'll let you know how it goes. So today is the 16th of April, and with that we have reached the end of this vlog. I do have some last reading updates that I want to talk to you about, and yeah, then we are done so far. First of all, I did finish a book yesterday, and that book was Monday Mourning by Katie Reichs. This one is the 7th book in the Temperance Brennan series. Now in this book we follow Temperance as she is solving a case of 3 skeletons that were found in the basement of a pizza parlor, and it isn't quite clear whether these skeletons are new murder victims or whether they have been there for a very, very long time, and it's maybe more of a case for the archaeologists. So Temperance is really trying to figure out whether these are, this is a case basically, or whether to dismiss this as like a more historical situation. And while she's trying to figure that out, some weird stuff starts happening. There is a woman trying to call her, but they never really get to talk. They're always interrupted. And then there is a break-in at her house, and yeah, things just start happening. It's all a bit suspicious. Now, I must confess that my hopes for this one were a little bit higher than what actually happened. I gave this book 4 stars in the end because I do really love this series and I really have a good time reading these. But with this one, I feel like some of the stuff that I have loved about previous ones have been missing a little bit. First of all, because these bones are very nondescript, there isn't really a lot of actual anthropologist investigating in this one. She does look at the bones a couple of times, but there isn't really a lot of clues that she gets from her academic work. They do highlight a technique in here that helps date when bones were alive. Which sounds very, very wrong, but you know what I mean. When the person has lived, based on kind of the composition of the bones, and that has something to do with I think it's strontium. I don't know how you say that in English, but yeah, that is something that is impacted by the nuclear testing. And so in general, yeah, this is an interesting method that is highlighted here. However, it's not really something that our main character does. It's just something that happens in the background. And so a lot of the investigating is a little bit boring in this one, honestly. So yeah, I was a little bit sad about that. Also, major trigger warnings for the conclusion of this. What actually happened to these people where the bones were found is very, very horrifying. So I would recommend you go look into that, especially when it comes to themes of sexual violence. It is definitely disturbing, a very disturbing case that is discussed here. And I can see that people who like dark thrillers will enjoy this novel a little bit more maybe than the other ones. Usually the stuff that is going on in these is quite gruesome because, you don't end up a pile of bones just by dying a natural cause. But yeah, overall, I would say this one definitely had some heavier triggers that I recognized than some of the previous novels. I feel like the ending in this one was a little bit over dramatic again, especially because this, in the end, there is kind of a fire. And I had just read an article about that horrific fire that happened on New Year's Day in Switzerland and how devastating that was. So that whole chapter just felt a little bit like wishful thinking to me. I have no idea what you can and can't survive in a fire, but yeah, just reading about that like actual real life event where pretty much within seconds people died, and then kind of what's happening in here, it just felt a little bit off to me personally. And then for the kind of overall story arc where we look at Tempei's personal life, I felt like in this one we were kind of like regurgitating stuff that we had looked at before. So again, I wasn't like the biggest fan. Now I'm talking this book down a lot. It was a solid installment in this series and I still had a lot of fun reading it. As I said, 4 stars. So then yesterday I even had time to start a little bit of my next book. Now this is already a Neki because it's a hardcover, but my next read is going to be The Just City by Jo Walton. So if you want to hear me talk about this one, you will have to go to my next reading vlog, which will be up in a couple of weeks at the end of April. So far I am 40 some pages in already. So yeah, making slow progress in that, but it's quite interesting. Last but not least, I wanted to mention my audiobook. With this one, I'm now a little bit more than halfway through, but just barely. I think we're around the like 55% mark or something like that. So I am falling behind with that a little bit. And I have to be honest that it's also a little bit because of the book. While I did really enjoy the beginning and kind of the fast pace that the book had, now during the middle, I just feel like there is a lot going on that our main character is really questioning, and I'm getting a little bit annoyed with that. I think this is meant to show that these people were so heavily indoctrinated that she can't even think outside of the beliefs that have been set for her, but still, it is a little bit frustrating, and I would like for her to look a little bit left and right as well, because you can really tell from the way things are going that there is stuff she doesn't understand and doesn't really have any idea about. And so, yeah, it's just a little bit frustrating to see her kind of stumble along this journey. And I hope that we will soon reach a point where maybe she starts, you know, thinking about stuff a little bit more. This is a very angry main character, and that can work for me, but it can also get on my nerves, if you know what I mean. So I am a little bit like so-so about the audiobook right now. I don't think I said it. It's a stage set for villains. So I will continue listening to this one, hopefully a little bit faster now, and then I will give you my final thoughts in my next vlog, and then also my April wrap up at the end of the month. So that is it from me. Now, one thing I wanted to mention for like my personal life right now is that I have finally started doing my fitness classes again this week. So I decided to do 3 this semester. I'm doing Pilates, I'm doing Zumba, and I'm doing a back fitness course. So this week has a little bit of an up and down situation going on because like I didn't do enough you know, sports in the last couple of weeks. So this is kind of a cold start right now, and it is hard. It's hard. My body is struggling, but I'm very excited to now have, you know, more weeks where I get a good workout in regular terms. So yeah, happy about that, and I hope that will also help me just feel a little bit better about myself in general. So that's what's been happening here. I hope you're having a wonderful Magical Readathon so far. If you're participating, let me know how much of your TBR have you already finished. I feel okay because right now I'm at the like halfway point. I have finished 4 classes and I still have to do 4. So I didn't mention that, but Monday morning was for inscription, which was the prompt with the weekday in the title. So we have finished shapeshifting, animal studies, inscription, and conjuration. And we still need to do spells and incantations, restoration, lore, and demonology. So that will happen in the next vlog, hopefully. And yeah, let me know how you are doing. I would love to hear about that, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.